Village Room has a door like that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Hey, guys. Michelle here. Whoops, sorry. I'm trying to put my glove back on. It's like cold here in Ohio. We're getting...
Film me, are you?
No. We're getting snowmageddon here in a couple of days.
Tomorrow,
yes. It's supposed to come tomorrow afternoon. So, Patriot Gallery and I are taking a walk. And I was telling her that I saw that Leah Faith posted on ResistanceChicks that Amos Miller won his case in Pennsylvania, which is so huge. Like, you know, I mentioned a couple of times...
Well, remind me what the case is first.
I will. I've mentioned a couple times that we just had our 8th birthday as Resistance Chicks, which means we've been on air and we've been covering stories for 8 years. I don't know how long it's been, but I think it's been almost at least half of that time that we have been covering the Amos Miller story. I think, in fact, before we had our studio in the basement, when we used to do our show in our living room, we were covering Amos Miller. So this has been just such a long time coming. So for those of you that don't know, Amos Miller is an Amish farmer who has a phenomenal setup and co-op where he sells food to people, and he actually does sell out of state. Now, he sells beef. He sells, what was it that he started selling instead of the beef, Mom? Do you remember?
Something like water buffalo.
They had like a water buffalo or something like that. And
that's legal to sell.
Because there's no water buffalo lobbyists, right? You have to understand that everything has an agenda. Big Dairy has an agenda. So like they confiscated his food. He sells yogurts and cheeses and butter and raw milk and eggs and, you know, like sauerkrauts and fermented foods and all of these amazing things Amos Miller sells. And we have covered countless times on our show the raids that they have done on his home, where they will just come and just take all of this stuff. And they even said, can we just keep it for our own use or for our animals?
Trespassing and stealing.
It is trespassing and stealing. And they would come and they would just take it, they would dump it, they would pour it out. I mean, guys, when we are talking about tyranny in this nation, so many of us go to like what hits us personally. But if food doesn't hit you personally, I don't know what does. Like, we all have a right to grow and raise our own food and to make transactions with our neighbors, with our friends, with our community, without the government getting in.
That's where America started.
Exactly. Getting in the way. And Joel Salatin even has these like shirts or something like that that says, stay away from my fork. Because when the government goes to get in between your plate and your mouth, they don't belong there, okay? And you know what I think is just so fascinating? Everybody wants to say, love is love, and the government has no right to tell you what you can do with your own body when it comes to who you marry, who you sleep with, whether you murder a baby, and yet they have the right to tell you what goes on between your plate and your mouth? I don't think so. I don't think so. And so today we've had this victory, and I can't help but think and feel very strongly that the election of Trump and the push from MAHA, Make America Healthy Again, has influenced this case. Because I think that the judge, this is conjecture here, so don't take this as fact, but I just feel strongly that that judge must have looked at this case and thought to himself, if I don't give this victory, they're going to take it to a higher court, and we're going to go this way. They're going to take it to a higher court, and this guy is going to get justice because we know what kind of authority is coming in this nation. And so I am just over the moon excited and ecstatic for Amos Miller. And it's not just for Amos Miller. Like, I'm going to be honest. So it's for
everybody.
It's for everybody. For all of us. He won it for everybody. And this is like, I have goosebumps on the back of my neck right now.
Because we have piglets and we have chickens.
Right. We raise pigs. We raise chickens.
And we're making products.
And we are making products on the Resistance Chicks store.
All over the place.
And so when you, and that's another thing, that they didn't just sell food. I think they even had some salves and tinctures and things like that too that they were selling. That it just kind of exploded into this whole thing where the government tried to shut down Amos Miller, and they were trying to make an example of him, because that is what these people do. The USDA and the FDA, they are looking right now at probably and possibly even being shut down in a Trump administration. And I'm praying into that.
They
But
almost made it go broke.
exactly.
I mean, you take your food, your clothing, everything.
Right. And
There's a way
so
to make a living.
when we are looking at what they have tried to do to all of us through making an example of Amos Miller, and Amos Miller, I'm going to tell you guys something.
To take donations, but he probably had to.
I'm going to tell you guys something. That Amos Miller was able to do this because of two things. Two things. You guys praying, okay? You guys praying and his faith in God. Okay?
Tenacity also.
Well, yeah, exactly. But like, I think that inculcates the faith in God, because you can't take on the government if you don't have the power of God behind you. Like, you just cannot do it. And so this is just like the biggest win for food freedom and for all of us. Our founding fathers would be rolling over in their grave if they knew that our own government was stopping people from selling food to their friends and their neighbors and their family and their community. It's absurd. It is ridiculous. It is completely antithetical to everything that America stands for. And this is just a giant leap forward for not just food freedom, but like I said, with the medical freedom of, I should be able to sell my, the body butter that we have, and I should be able to make claims that says that it helps with these things, okay? And so the fact that they are, trying to shut down on natural remedies because of big pharma, and you have to look at, it all goes down to the money. If you want to know who is behind this, follow the money. It is the lobbyists that purchase we always say that it should be like NASCAR drivers. They should have their little, Pfizer patches on their, all these congressmen and senators who they're bought off by, on their sleeves and stuff. Follow the money, follow the influence, follow the lobbyists, and then you will find out why this stuff happens.
I'm sure Kennedy helped a lot, make America healthy.
I'm telling you, I really do think that Bobby Kennedy has a lot to do with why this victory happened. And there's this giant push that people are finally awakening to the fact that we have a God-given, inalienable right to exist in community with one another when it comes to our health products, when it comes to our food, when it comes to just transactions and buying and selling, like the cottage food laws, right? I should be able to bake a pie and sell it to you, and there should not be any government restrictions. And I want to ask you guys a question, because I know that even a very tiny part of my unhealed public school brain says this in my head sometimes. And I want to see if you were being 100% honest with yourself, if you go through this a little bit yourself too, when it comes to when we want to deregulate things and building codes and all of that, part of our brains goes, we do think to ourselves, yeah, but what if someone gets sick? Or what if, the stairs fall apart and someone falls down them? Doesn't there have to be rules and regulations for those kinds of things? That mindset and that thought process is literally brainwashing that we need healing from. Okay? Because the answer to that question is a very simple no.
Well, there are laws for if a corporation.
Yes, that's true.
It's the same thing.
Well, but here's what it should be.
And stuff like that.
Here's the answer for that, and this is the answer for Amos Miller, right? The answer is, my community keeps me honest. My customers keep me honest. I do not want to harm my customers. I do not want to build something that is going to fall apart. I do not want to sell somebody something that is going to harm them, because then they're going to put me out of business by spreading the word that I have done something wrong. That is the human way. I don't even want to say the American way. That's just the human way. It's the way that societies have existed from the beginning of the dawn of time. We do not need governments to step in the way of what would naturally already happen. And so, if you're just joining us,
well, the Bible says good name is to be wanted above all things.
Exactly. And so we used to talk about character. And okay, so first of all, I'll get back to the character thing, but to remind you that Amos Miller, the Amish farmer who has been battling for years, as we have covered on Resistance Chicks, has won his case in Pennsylvania for being able to sell food across state lines. It's just absolutely huge. And not just sell food across state lines, but to even sell to their co-op, to sell to their regular community and customers. I cannot tell you like how excited I am about this. Now, this thought that I was just having as we're walking about your character. When you have a coldness of like a Walmart or even just any kind of a smaller, bigger business, right? When you have that, what it does, hi there. Look at you, cutie tootie. When you have like the LLC, what it does is it takes the character requirement out of the business. That saying of it's just business, it's not personal, it's just business. That's not true. And especially when you have these big conglomerates, that's why I want to always support family owned and operated businesses. Why? Because their character is part of the product. Their character is part of what they have to offer to the customer. And so what these big businesses do is
Plus, you don't get a monopoly on it.
Exactly. They take the character requirement out of everything. Amos Miller has proven that he is a man of character. And I don't know if you guys have ever watched any...
He's got a good name and reputation.
Yeah, any videos of him. But it's not just because he is Amish. It's just because of his character. He is a man of resolve. He has this kind of hint, even though he's been through literally hell and back, he has this hint of joy that is on his face. He is a man of peace. He is a man of resolve. And you can't build up a business the way that he has unless you're a man that takes pride in what he does and genuinely wants to help your fellow man. And this hits really home for our family because we belong to a Amish herd share where we get our milk. Sometimes we get eggs when our chickens decide to be stubborn or they're molting. And sometimes we get produce from them, just different things that we can't grow ourselves or don't do well. Honey and sorghum, and I'm trying to think of all the different things that we get from them. And then other people get beef from them, they get chicken from them. But our big thing is that we get the raw milk every week. And it was started by a man named Scott Richardson. And he is the father of 7. And
I thought it was 8.
It might be 8 with the one that they lost. And he was just he reminds me so much of Amos Miller. And I say was because I think it was in, what year was it, Mom? 2021?
I don't remember.
2020 or 2021. There was a buggy accident and he was hit by a car and he was killed. And his kids decided to continue in his legacy. And so his name was Scott Richardson. I'm going to tie this back to Amos Miller. And he was an engineer. He was English. They converted to, it's technically Old Order Mennonite, but it might as well be Amish. They live very, very strictly. No electricity, no, battery powered, gas powered anything. And he married his wife, Miriam, who's like 5'0". She was Filipino, and so all their kids are Filipino and absolutely beautiful and gorgeous. And they joined this community. So they went from, they had 2 kids before they joined the Old Order Mennonite community. And they went in, and we've heard from their kids that they went into this community and they kind of turned it on its head because they were like, we can reach out to the English. We can sell raw milk. They will buy it. They will want it. They will want what we have. Because up until that point, that Amish community was only selling in bulk to like Jungle Gyms, which is the equivalent of our Trader Joe's. And they didn't have a connection with what they call us as the English. And Scott was like, we can make this connection. We have something that they want, which is the raw milk and the eggs and the meat and even, salves and tinctures and just different things like that. And he convinced them, and he convinced that community, and his kids have continued that legacy. And so I want to encourage you guys in something, whether you're trying to, make your sourdough bread and sell it, or you're, trying to start your own home-based business, whatever it is that you feel led that God is calling you to do, when you tap into something, The devil cannot stop you if you do not give up. And that's what Scott did. And that's what Amos Miller has done. And I am just so excited. This shouldn't just be a victory for food freedom. It shouldn't just be a victory for Make America Healthy Again. It's a victory for every Christian out there that has said, I am going to obey God and I am going to do what God has called me to do no matter what. And the government can't stop me and the devil can't stop me. My community can't stop me. The naysayers can't stop me. You know, Noah went to build that ark and everybody told him he was an idiot, you know, and who was it? Nehemiah went to build a wall and Tobias and Sanballat were like, no, you can't do this, you know, and he's like, no, we're going to do it anyway. And when you stand up for what is right, God will come through. And we have seen it so many times when it looks like that doesn't happen, when it looks like it fails. And then we get discouraged. And I want you guys to grab a hold of this as a message from God for yourself today. That if you step out, especially in 2025, and say, God, I'm giving this thing over to you. I'm only doing this because you've called me to do this, and I'm going to hand it over to you. I'm giving you the ResistanceChicks general store and the products that we sell, and it's going to be what you want it to be. And whatever it is, maybe, you know, God's calling you to start your own business. Whatever it is that God wants you to do, step out and do that, and recognize that the devil will try to stop you. But if you stand firm in what God has told you to do, even if it takes years, you will win and you will be victorious. And I was just reading in, I think it was Romans today. Maybe it was, that's not, I don't think it's Romans, but it's he who he's called, he's also equipped. Oh no, he gives seed to the sower. I was writing that down today. I don't even think that was in Romans. I don't remember where that was. But he gives seed to the sower. And what does that mean? If God has called you to sow something, then he is faithful to provide you with that seed to accomplish that thing. So I want you guys to know that, like, no weapon formed against you shall prosper. And that is the thing that Amos Miller has stood on, I'm sure, this entire time. Alan says, be careful when you buy bacon. I've seen footage of a factory that uses dog skins for bacon, and the people who work there don't even realize, oh, that's disgusting, which is, once again, more reason to get your bacon from a local farmer. Guys, I can't encourage you enough to go online, and there's, Google, local food co-ops. And find one near you. You'll often find the Amish where you can get raw milk, where you can join a herd share, where you can buy beef and you can buy chicken and you can get your pork from a farmer where you don't have to worry about that bacon being from dog skins. That's disgusting. Samuel says, good to hear he won. Karen says, what did he win? So he won the freedom to be able to sell his food and to sell his salves and to sell his tinctures and all of the things. Like I said at the start of this video, he was selling sauerkrauts and yogurts and cheeses and milk and beef and chicken and pork and like all the things.
Off his own farm.
Off of his own farm. And the government came in and they raided him time and time again. And they would pour out the milk and they would throw away and they would literally destroy by putting bleach on this stuff. Amos Miller is owed recompense from the Pennsylvania government. I'm telling you, and if it was the USDA or the FDA, then he's owed it from the federal government. But that man is owed, and not even, like, I hope he sues the pants off of the USDA and the FDA. Because he is owed just the heartache. Like, you can't even put a price tag on this. And I bet he won't even do it. But he should, because he's deserving of it, right? I mean, this is just like the worst thing that you can possibly imagine. And I don't know if they did this on Amos's farm. Mom, maybe you can help me out on this, or you guys in the chat. I don't think they did this on Amos's farm, but in other farms, they will go in and they will take their animals and cull them, aka kill them.
All of them.
Like all of them.
Or
and this tyranny has to stop. And Amos Miller and his win has set a gigantic precedent for this. I'm telling you, the USDA is now on their heels. The FDA is now back on their heels. And they're going to rue the day that they came after the American farmer. Because this country was founded on farmers.
95%
Okay,
farmers.
and founded for farmers and founded by farmers. And when people came here to America, everybody wants to think that people came here for the American dream, to become an
not to get a
entrepreneur
job.
and start a business. People came to America for the American dream to farm.
They didn't want to work
That's
for
what
somebody
it
else.
was. They wanted to be their own boss because they were coming. A lot of people were coming from England and just different countries where they couldn't get land, where they couldn't be their own boss, where they couldn't get a piece of land. Do you know how big of a deal it is to get a piece of land, even in England today, in the UK? It's huge. And I get like so many people like, Michelle, it's really hard to get land in America too. I'm like, I'm not talking about 100 acres or 1,000 acres. Okay. You could come to America and you can make a living. We do it on an acre and a tenth. 1 acre plus 1/10. We do it at God's little acre. Now, we don't do everything, but we can do a lot. Someone was asking, what do we sell? So right now, we're only selling our own homemade, like body butter and tooth powder and essential oils and deodorant and stuff like that. And we're going to expand on that. But Amos Miller was trying to sell food. Now, we raise our own pigs and we sell our piglets. We're allowed to do that. But if I wanted to sell like in my basement right now, I've got chickens, I've got pigs. If I wanted to sell my pork by the cut, I can't do it. It's illegal.
In your basement, in your freezer.
In my basement, in my freezer. That's what I thought. I'm sorry. I thought I was clarifying. In my basement, in my freezer.
Yeah, chickens.
Okay. Dead chickens in the freezer. I can't sell that, but I should be able to. I should be able to sell that to my neighbor. And if I had a cow, I should be able to sell my neighbor some milk. And I can't do that unless my neighbor technically, legally signs a contract where they own part of my cow. Okay? What Amos Miller has accomplished, and I want to add to this, and we'll wrap this video up here in a second. What he has accomplished isn't just food freedom, but he has established a religious freedom. Because one of the reasons why the Amish and the Old Order Mennonite and the Mennonite get a pass is because they stand on religious freedom in this country. They do what they do for religious reasons.
God promised Abraham land.
Exactly.
And he promised all of us land.
Amen. So,
Farms.
when the township and the county were coming after us, we've been through this. So my heart is totally with this guy. Granted, I didn't have to go through it for years, but I went through it. I went through it when there was a knock at the door, I was nervous.
3 years.
And opening, 3 years. And opening the mailbox was nerve-wracking, and getting little slips in the mail like cease and desist what you're doing. Like, I have had them come after me. And what finally pushed them back, even though we had every right to do what we do because of a very interesting law in Ohio called 519-21. It's a don't zone me out law that's specifically for townships. Now, it should apply to everybody, okay? But for us, we literally have an on-the-books legal exemption to be able to farm and do what we do. But they were coming after us, telling us that we couldn't. And what pushed them back on their heels? What was the one that made them stop and cease and desist and admit to the only neighbor? All of our other neighbors love us. There was just one neighbor, Jerry Whittle, kept complaining about us. And the one thing that pushed them back and made them admit,
all the time.
yeah, but not as much as Jerry did, made them admit to him. He was going in there and he was like, they need to stop doing this, that, and the other. And they finally just told him they have a right to be doing what they're doing. What was the thing that made them finally admit to him? Because we pulled the religious exemption card. There is a federal law. The acronym is like RUPLA. It's the Religious Land Use Protection Act, I think. RLUPA, RLUPA. The Religious Land Use Protection Act. And we just wrote them this, we call it going crazy Christian. And we wrote them a crazy Christian letter. And we said, we're going to do this because God has called us to do this. And we will put I think we even said in our letter that we would put a sign in the yard for our church if we needed to. And then I also told them, and I threatened them, and I said, we know that we are standing on a law in the 519-21 that countless of our neighbors in this community, in our township, qualify for. And if you keep pursuing this and you do not stop, we are going to go around and we are going to, I even said, I'm going to get an excerpt in the newspaper and I'm going to tell everybody that qualifies for this. Mom, I'm going to go find Leah. That qualifies for this, that they qualify. and we're going to have everybody keeping pigs, and everybody's going to keep chickens, and everybody's going to get goats and cows, because they qualify for this. But the number one thing that I told them was, this is our religion. This is our church. We do this for religious purposes, and you cannot stop us. And we even quoted the RLUIPA, Federal Land Use Protection Act, and it was only after that they stopped attacking us. And so when you go after these people and you use the power of God and you go crazy Christian, that's what you have to do all the time. You go crazy Christian, and I'm telling you, they don't know what to do with you. When these people have shown up from the county and from the township, and they've tried to tell us this, that, and the other, we pull out the founding fathers. We start quoting John Adams. We start quoting Thomas Jefferson. And we do all of that. Why? Because they don't know what to do with it, and they're terrified of it. They are terrified of it. When you quote the Constitution, when you quote the Bill of Rights, when you remind these people that they made an oath to protect and uphold the Constitution, and that they are not doing that. Hi. Are you back? Yeah, we're back. Do you want to come and talk about Amos Miller real quick? What? We're talking about Amos Miller. You are. I am. Did you have anything you want to say about it? Are you coming out here? Okay. When you do this, when you stand up to these tyrants in the power of God, using the foundation that our founding fathers gave us, oh my gosh, they cannot do anything. They are petrified, they run the other way, and they back off. We literally had a guy at our house, and he had a clipboard. And he was telling us something about our grandfathered in drainage from our laundry or something like that went out the back. And my mom went out there and she hit them so hard with the power of God, it's not even funny. And she's quoting the founding fathers, and she's quoting all this stuff. And you know what he did? He took that clipboard, and I do this when we do this on our class sometimes. And he, let me set my phone down here. Let me show you. Hi guys. And he's holding this clipboard, and he just starts backing up, and he's like, ma'am, I'm just going to write down that, like, everything is fine here. And he left, and he never, ever, ever came back. So, look at this. Here, let's show you our piggies. Okay, my phone's needs cleaned off here. Wait a minute. This is our little farm. Everybody's in here because it's cold, and we have all the plastic up around. I've got plastic up right here. But Leah's been bringing them leaves and making sure that they're going to be plenty warm and taken care of and all the things. But guys, we are called by God to live a life that is back to this type of living. And when the government tries to tell you that the American dream, which is this, raising pigs and raising chickens, and when they come at you and they tell you that you're not allowed to do this, they have completely turned their backs on everything that America stands for. They have turned their backs on everything that God intended America to be. And here's the thing, spiritually, they don't have a leg to stand on when they do that. And that's what makes it amazing. Okay? When one of my favorite quotes is from Davy Crockett, and he said, always be sure you're right and then go ahead. Always be sure that you're right and then go ahead. And when you do that, when you know that you are right and you go forward, God will back you up every time. And there is nothing that I can think of in America that is more godly and more righteous and more protected than growing and raising animals for food and selling it to your neighbors. So Kathy says, yes, this is fantastic. Go for some of the, yes, Samuel says they killed herds of deer in Texas last year. Connect with Shemaine Nugent. Yes, we've definitely connected with Shemaine in the past on so many things, and I know that she and Ted were covering that a lot. So, all right, I think that's it. I'm gonna sign off and see if Leah has anything she wants to add. Probably not. She's been out here taking care of the animals all day. I don't know if you guys watched the video that she did where the pigs got into the pumpkins that we had been storing for winter. But we had this big giant pile of pumpkins, and they got out because Leah left the gate open. Here's some lone chicken. And they had a heyday with all of the pumpkins that they completely decided to eat instead of saving for Christmas, because pigs are ornery. And I don't know what happened to Leah. But I'm going to sign off. Huge win for Amos Miller. So excited for him and for all of us. This is just like the victory that has been won as a result of Amos Miller's fight is nothing short of a miracle, and the pigs are not done being petted here. Is nothing short of a miracle. Please don't eat my coat. And I want you guys to be encouraged. You can do anything. You can do anything that God has called you to do. And number one, God has called you to farm. God has called you to raise animals. God has called you to get back to his land and to be a part of his beautiful and amazing creation. Like, the joy that we have in taking care of these guys cannot be calculated. This is what living is. This is what it's all about. And when these guys have their little piglets, hopefully in the next few months, that feeling that I get is just, it's not like anything that I can describe. It's so holy. It's so righteous. It's so right. And I didn't grow up this way, guys. What are you doing, Gus Gus? Hi, Gus Gus. I come to pet you. You want a belly rub? They always do this. I wish I had a better camera angle to show you how they act. Oh, geez. Now I'm under attack. Now they all want belly rubs. Let's see if I can turn the camera around. No, not that. Stop. Hang on. Here we go. I'm going to set that right there. The feeling that you get when you're doing what God wants you to do, when you're out here with your animals, when you're taking care of them, when you're loving on them, and then they provide food for you, and you go to your freezer and you pull out ribs and pork chops and bacon and sausage that you made and the chicken. Like, I can't put a price tag on that, and I can't put a price tag on being able to come out here and hang out with these guys. And Leah does such a great job taking care of them. She gets a giant cookie. She literally does this almost like single-handedly by herself. And so I'm so proud of everything that Leah does. But like, this is what, to me, this is what living is. You don't think so? You don't think this is living? I do. And we should have baby piglets soon. So in the next couple of months. Please don't eat my coat. All right, I'm going to go take myself inside. And yes, Jewel says, I just chopped on. He won. Yes, he won. And he didn't just win for himself. He won for all the rest of us. I'm so excited. So we'll probably be covering it, even though it's not world news, tomorrow on our world news program, which is going to be at 1:30 tomorrow. So yay, Amos Miller. Yay, victory for food freedom. And y'all can breathe a sigh of relief that, you know what? If I step out and I try to do what God wants me to do, he's going to be there. He's going to back me up. So, all right, we're going to sign off. I love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow at 1 o'clock for our world news. Take care. God bless.